I'm John Beaudin from Rock History Music. As a lot of you have heard, Gordon Lightfoot passed away. He was 84 years old, a Canadian icon who gave us so many hits, influenced so many folks. With the Americana movement right now in the United States that's been going on for the last few years, you know a lot of those artists were influenced by Gordon Lightfoot. Anyway, here's an interview. And remember, we've told you about this. We inherited a lot of interviews. Not that poor Steve passed away, but he just gave us all his interviews maybe, 20 years ago, I'm guessing. One of those interviews was Gordon Lightfoot, a phoner interview with Steve Burgess right after the Canadian Music Hall of Fame induction. Steve Burgess and the late, great Gordon Lightfoot.
Geez, they got you answering your own phones and everything, eh?
Yeah, I got Steve Burgess on here. What's your name again? Yeah, okay.
Actually, we met briefly at the Junos. I was standing at the edge of the table firing all sorts of questions at you, and then
Oh, yeah?
yeah, I was asking you most of the stuff, and then we ended up at the same party where you and Bob Dylan showed up at the Sutton Place.
That's good. That was put on by WIA.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Put that on.
yeah, it was a good bash. Anyway,
Good year. I got my, I figured I might as well do it as gracefully as possible.
uh-huh.
And I think it came out quite well. I think I spoke a little bit long, but other than that, it turned out pretty good.
Well, you had it right, if anybody did, I guess.
Yeah, my song looked good, the song that we did.
Yeah. You know, I was glad to see, too, that when they were playing the montage of film clips and things, you know, they played a clip of one of my all-time favorite songs of yours, but not one that's one of the best known, so I was glad they used it. They had a little clip of you doing Saturday Clothes.
Oh, yeah.
I always liked that one.
Yeah, it was good. I sang that one for 3 years.
You know something? This is before we get into the serious interview, I'll just mention, this is stupid. You know, sometimes it's odd how a person can have an interpretation of a song that probably has nothing to do with what the author intended. And I always had an interpretation of that song, which, when I thought about it, I was sure you didn't mean. But for some reason, when I used to hear that song, I used to think that the guy didn't actually have any friends, that he was making them up.
Oh, the Saturday Clothes.
Yeah.
I think it was more like party time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it really was. Sometimes things get a little too ethereal for their own good.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I never actually considered, when I thought about it, that that's what you meant to put into the song. But somehow I got that impression. I think maybe because the song had such a sad tone to it.
Yeah.
I
gave that up. I gave up being sad. So I write... everything I've written in the last 5 years has been of a much more optimistic tone.
How about the tour?
More consistency.
How's the tour going?
Fine. We really haven't gone anywhere yet. We did a warm-up tour of Northern Ontario, which was a lot of fun. Well, it included Ottawa, the National Arts Centre also, and Sudbury, Thunder Bay, and Montreal. And then we came in and did 6 shows at Massey Hall. So we really haven't... Our trip out west will be the first major leg.
And how long are you going to be going with the western part?
That will, I think, last for 10 days, and it finishes in Victoria. We're playing... do you want to know where we're playing?
Sure.
Oh, Winnipeg, Saskatoon, Regina, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, and Victoria.
You sold out real fast in Edmonton, as I understand it.
Well, it's going very well, but remember, it's been a while, and since we played there, and
do you still enjoy playing as much as you always did on stage?
Well, the way it is right now with our new sound system and everything, we're having a great time with it, and we're doing a lot of the new songs and incorporating a number of a lot of the old songs, and got everything nicely combined, and it's a nice tight show.
I saw you in Winnipeg years and years ago. I'm not even sure what album that would be to support, but it was a long time ago. It was a good show, although it seemed to me, this is a bit presumptuous, it seemed to me that you might have been doing something at intermission. You came out in the second half a lot looser than you had been in the first half of the show. So,
yeah, I don't know. Maybe I went out and ran around the hall 3 times.
well, I hope that was it. Geez, it's been of course, been a long time for you. Do you have any high points you can look back on? Is there anything that stands out in your career thus far?
I'd have to. There's been a lot of high points. I'd have to almost commit it to paper, like to, I guess, go through the whole experience. But.
How about, well, for instance, the simultaneously topping the singles and albums charts in the U.S.?
That was, okay, that was on the album Sundown. Yes, I was very, very pleased about that. As a matter of fact, I got the news in Belfast, Ireland. I was playing in Belfast that night when the news came that it had moved up to #1. I was quite thrilled.
I don't expect that was the sort of commercial success you were expecting with that one. Did you think that album was going to really break it for you?
I felt good about the record. I felt good about the record itself, and there was a lot of excitement. Sort of like the engineer liked it, and my co-producer Lenny Waronker liked it. The musicians liked it, so we felt very optimistic about it.
By the way, what about this lawsuit that's been happening lately now? Is that something that you launched, or is that just something that your publishing company did with the If You Could Read My Mind and Greatest Love of All?
No, I put that one into the to litigation myself, and when it became apparent that he had got the point, because I had written him a letter before that and not received a reply, and I withdrew it. I withdrew it about 2 weeks ago. It's gone. I withdrew it. I made my point. I just simply wanted to let people understand that I wrote that certain section before Michael Masser did, who was the writer. And,
was it Michael Masser that you had written a letter to, or was it the publisher?
Well, I had this has been done through my attorneys.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So should we move on?
Oh yeah. Let's. I was just curious as to what.
No, it was withdrawn. I withdrew it. He wrote me a couple of letters. We heard from him very promptly, of course, because the song also it was nominated for a Grammy, that sort of thing, and it was just bothering me that people might have thought that I stole it from him, that section of music, because it was what amounted to 24 bars of music, or thereabouts. So, wrote him a letter. We let him off the hook. I dropped it. It's finito. Wait, I'm not interested in the money. I just wanted to make my point.
How about, I guess you've been in a unique position to see how pop music has changed over the years. Is it different for an artist in the 80s than it was when you were first trying to make your way on the scene?
Well, yes, because they have to find their way into the technology, the now technology, which is fairly involved. So they have their work cut out for them as well, as we did back then, which was to play well without the benefits of the technology, but they have the technology and they have to live with it. The new generation of recording artists.
How do you think the technology makes it different for a new artist? Does it make it harder?
A whole bunch of new equipment they have to deal with. They have all kinds of new equipment that they have to learn how to operate and how to use. Electronic equipment.
Aside from that, the basics of the business, though, do you think that's pretty much the same?
Yeah, it's make it good enough so that it will get heard on the radio, and then if the public likes it enough, they might buy your records. That's the way it works, I guess. Chain, and it's like a career, and it's an ongoing thing, and it's very competitive, and it's fun, and it's enlightening, and I've enjoyed it a lot.
When it comes to breaking through, one thing that today's Canadian artists have, which you did not, is that you came along before Canadian content rulings came into effect.
Yes, I had one hit stateside just about a year before that went into effect.
Yeah, so That's certainly, well, it's old news now, but it's certainly revolutionized the Canadian music scene. And I would just have thought that maybe it was more difficult for you to come along because of the fact that you didn't have that helping hand. I mean, nobody in Canada was...
I got a helping hand. I got a helping hand from fellow artists, is what happened. I had people take an interest in and record my songs, so I also got some assistance.
What you didn't have, though, is you didn't have anybody saying to radio stations, look, you've got to play Canadian music. I mean, if they were going to play your songs, you were competing against, the Beatles and everybody else 1-to-1. You didn't have, a helping hand the way some artists do today.
Well, there's always a few spots left in the listings, in the trade papers. There's always an opening there someplace, and if you got something out there and it's good enough and it finds its way in, it happens. But there's a lot of luck involved also.
You've got one thing that you definitely have, perhaps as much or more so than anybody else in Canada. You've got a very definite image, and you've got a great amount of recognition for your voice and your music. Now, over the course of more than 20 years now that you've been making records, do you think now that having that kind of a real extensive recognition, is it a help or can it be a hindrance at times, where people think that they know you too well?
I've thought about that, but I've just thought, haven't thought about it enough to be able to discuss it really in an objective way.
Yeah. You were talking back at the Junos. I was asking you whether or not you were going to put out any more albums. You were saying it's possible that you might not. Have you had any more thoughts on that subject?
Yeah, it could be that somewhere much farther down the line I could make another record, but right now we have this tour and all of the good things that go with that to think about for the next couple of years, and to then commit myself to another album would then take another couple of years. So it could be, if there were another one, it could be 5 years down the road. We can't really be sure of these things. We'll see how it goes. As far as my active life in the business goes, that's not changing in any ways. When I'm playing concerts, that is where my true element, I guess, as best as I know it, lies.
Do you need? You don't need to do this stuff anymore, though. If you do it now, it'll be for love of the business. Is that right?
Yes, principally because everybody likes to work, and people. The general feeling is that people don't like to retire really, and until they have to. And it's like I enjoy it a great deal. We all enjoy it. All the people who are involved in the production and the band and all the people, and we enjoy it. We don't do it at a schedule that is all that abusive. We play perhaps, we would play a couple of weekends and take a couple of weekends off, and it's laid out in such a way that we're back and forth. We're not continually on the road, and it's fun and it runs smoothly.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite songs? I mean, you've written so many. Do you have any favorites in the catalog?
When I'm in Edmonton, that will answer your question, because all of them will be favorites of mine and favorites of theirs, and where we have a common ground.
Another one, I mentioned Saturday Clothes. You know what a song I always loved of yours is It's Worth Believin'.
That is, I like that one a lot myself. I like that one.
Well,
it's one of those ones, it's there and it's good, and
well, it really has a sound to it, I mean, there's no real telling why a certain song will grab you a certain way and another one won't.
Yeah.
But that one always grabbed me.
It's the mood that it sets up.
Yeah.
It sets up a type of mood, and you connect to it.
Yeah, that's right. The new album is doing well. Is it done according to your expectations?
Well, my expectations were fulfilled when I finished it. I guess a couple of just little itsy bitsy things here and there, I like it a lot. The overall content.
Stay loose. It's got a nice hook to it.
Yeah, it's. I like that one a lot. We're doing that one on stage, and it works very well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the guitar hook is good. Am I taking up too much of your time here?
Well, I think that there's one coming here in about 12 minutes, and it's there's only one more today. And I'll tell you, we got all messed up too at the time, right? They were telling everybody that these were being done in West.
Okay, well, I'll fire away with a couple more questions, I guess. Then
I've been a little bit vague on those last few because they're the kind where you got to do too much thinking.
Too early for that.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Let me ask you about something that I once heard it said that one thing that you really didn't expect was the success of the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. That was a song that you just hadn't thought of as being a single.
At the time, the Fitzgerald sank. I was doing a lot of sailing myself up around in the Georgian Bay area, and I felt an affinity for this tragedy which took place. And in one of the many attempts I've done to write a topical song, I wrote that song as an addition to an album, and it then became a single on its own merit. It was released as a single.
Surprising in that it was, over 6 minutes long.
I'm sure not as big a surprise as it was to them.
Yeah.
Okay, what else you got there?
Well, let's see. I also remember hearing that you were, I think with the album Shadows, I had heard that you were financing that record with your own money, and I'm just wondering now, is that something that you have to do? Are you taking financial risks when you do an album now?
Gee, I tell you, you really got some good ones there, haven't you?
Well, you don't like to ask the same question.
That's all business stuff. That's of no interest to the listener.
You don't think so?
No.
Well, I don't know. I guess it's tough to judge sometimes if what interests you interests other people. I've always been interested in the mechanics of the record business, but the songs, I guess, are what really does it. All right, I'll tell you.
For me to talk about that stuff on the air is for me to step out of my ground, because discussions of business-related topics like that, I mean, you have to be relatively accurate, and there's some details of it, that are difficult to describe for just a normal layman such as myself, like an everyday person. It takes a businessman or an accountant or somebody like that to explain those things properly.
Okay, I tell you what, I'll ask you one more, and then maybe I'll let you go. But was it? I guess it must have been a great honor for you to have Bob Dylan at the Junos presenting that award to you, and he's also recorded some of your songs. Has that been a valuable relationship to you? Do you think you learned a lot from Bob Dylan?
Yes, most definitely. He would be considered to be my main influence. At the time that his career began and at the time that my career began, we were also both managed by the same management firm in New York City, which I had come in contact with through Ian and Sylvia, one of our other famous Canadian folk duets. And I had gotten I had the privilege of meeting with him actually and spending a little bit of time around him at those early times in his career, and to have been influenced by him to a certain degree, in that not so much in style, but in the fact that simply it could be done. It can be done, and that was the sort of thing that I got from him.
Yeah, and I guess having him record...
We're getting into some real heady stuff here now.
That's fine with me. Yeah, that's having him record your stuff too must have been an incredible thrill.
Well, he did on his self-portrait album. He did a whole bunch of songs by other writers. He did songs by several other people, and some traditional folk songs. And my song happened to be one of the songs that he did. He's only done the one, and that was Early Morning Rain. He did that one.
Yeah. Your career really got a boost early on when other people were doing your songs.
During the formative years, yes, there was a lot of cover recording done, recordings by other artists, and as is usually the case, when I started to make it to arrive on my own, they began to back off, and that's usually the way it goes. So most of the cover recordings that I had happened very early on in my career.
Did it worry you? Did you think that maybe, oh no, I'm going to get a career as a songwriter instead of being a singer, which is what I assume you wanted to be?
No, I was not the least bit worried about that at all.
All right. I guess now we're getting pretty close to your next interview, eh?
It's getting there.
Okay, I tell you what, I'll get you to do a real quick ID for me.
2 IDs.
Hey?
You don't do them.
Oh, okay. It was.
They were supposed to have told you that.
Oh, is that right? Well, it's no big deal anyway.